This tutorial is designed to give you all some information on how to handle those tricky situational questions that you tend to encounter in an interview. Now, when you're in the interview, they've already brought you in for a reason. On that resume, you've listed your accomplishments, and they're impressed with those. Now that you're in the interview, you also want to impress them with how you do what you do and what makes you successful in that position. So the good news here is that companies are actually pretty predictable in terms of the questions that they might ask you in an interview. They might ask you some industry-specific questions that you're going to be able to answer just because you do have experience in the industry. Beyond that, they're going to ask you situational questions. Now, if you want to find an example of what type of questions they might ask you in an interview, search the web. All you have to do is type in interview questions. You're going to get lists upon lists of those sample questions that they'll ask you. Now, you don't need to memorize every question that they're going to ask you. That's pretty much going to be impossible. Like I said, they'll ask you some industry-related questions. They'll ask you a little bit about yourself. Anything after that is going to be a situational question. And to prepare for these questions, absolute best way is to create a situational profile. So start with at least 15 different situations where you've been successful in the past. Try to get a good variety in here. So get some increased efficiency, overcome adversity, conflict resolution, increase sales at that company. Basically, what you want to do is before the interview, thoroughly pick through your entire employment history. Find any of these times that you've really shined. It's going to be a lot easier for you to take the time before an interview to pull those things out than it would be for you, sitting in front of that interviewer when you're nervous. So when you get those specific examples prepared, it's going to be super easy for you to tailor those examples to match the question that they're going to be asking you. And one example could be tailored in the right way to answer multiple different types of questions. So once you get those examples prepared, you're going to answer those questions in what's called the SOAR format. Some people will call it the STAR format, but they're the same thing. Basically, you're going to really break it down for them. You're going to describe the situation, describe the obstacles that you faced, what actions did you take, and what were the results of those actions. So like I said, just really break it down. So maybe they're asking you what your greatest contribution to your last company was. Well, maybe the situation, when I was with ABC Corporation, a significant source of our revenue was from repeat customers. And that was because of our strong emphasis on customer follow-up and upselling. But in the first quarter of the last year, sales new customer sales were significantly higher than projected. Now with the increase of new customer sales, it was hard to keep track of the follow-up with our existing customers, and our customer retention rate actually dropped by 12%. So what I did is I did some work using our existing CRM program. I produced a drip marketing campaign to follow up with those existing customers regularly. And then in the following quarter, new customer sales continued to increase, but there was no drop in our customer retention. So just really break it down for them. Maybe the situation is that the company I was with recruited 5,000 people a year, but they never had an official training program. So what I did is I actually created the firm's first training course. We had a staff of 20 people. We introduced that into 60 markets. And as a result, the firm was able to bring in recruits who produced significantly more within the first 4 weeks. And in the following year, sales by newcomers accounted for $5 million. So what you're going to do is you're going to memorize those situations, go through the sample questions that you're finding, Practice applying the situations to the sample questions. If you come across a question that none of your situations can be applied to, take the time, add another success story to the list. And then as you keep going through those sample questions that you're looking at, when you stopped getting stumped, you're going to be ready. So memorize those situations, get comfortable with them, and be able to tailor them to the questions that they're asking you. It's the absolute best way to tackle those situational questions. Now initially it is going to take a good amount of time and effort for you to create your situations, get comfortable answering those questions, but once you do get that initial preparation finished and you're well rehearsed, from there you're only going to have to worry about researching a company before you go in for an interview. You're going to be prepared for all of them. So when you're comfortable being asked questions and analyzing yourself, your whole demeanor in an interview is going to be much more relaxed and confident. And you're really going to be able to show them that you were successful and what makes you that way.